Hey, I'm Richardson. I farm in Waupaca County in the town of Lynn. I'm in actually the southern part of the town of Lynn. We started farming, and I actually started farming with my father-in-law in 1977. And we were doing commercial farming with dairy and beef. We had enough cropland to support both of them. And in 2002 or 2003 or something in that area, I hurt my hand. I was 62 years old. We had to decide what we were going to do. So we sold the dairy cows and proceeded to keep the beef herd as a hobby. And we were commercial farming. We had approximately 5 fields here that we broke up, and we would just switch the cows about every week and a half to a different field. And we would graze down to where the grass was about 1.5 inches off the ground, then we'd switch them to the next field. I was introduced to grazing actually by the NICRS program, and they got me invested in this grazing program, and I went to a couple of programs and saw what they were doing, and I said, well, this is kind of the really area I wanted to be in. So we switched immediately to this type of grazing, which the cows get a new patch of ground every day. They get approximately anywhere from 2 to 2.5 acres every day to graze. There's about 66 head here with the calves, and they will mow this down to about 6 inches off the ground in a day. And then we'll just switch them to the next field the next day. If you look down, Clyde, you want to look down past fields, you can see where they've grazed.
Yes.
And if you come around, you can see that as they come around, the grass gets higher and higher and higher. And each one of these paddocks is a day of grazing. So actually the paddock directly across from me is about 7 days prior to the time I started from this particular paddock. We got 2 strips here. This is 65 acres of grazing for these cows, and that will last them approximately 30 days. In the spring, it'll last them almost 40 days, and in the fall, it'll get down around 25 to 28 days. The pastures get bigger and bigger as the grass gets shorter. Over across the way, I got all my young stock, and they're also on 65 acres. There's 60 head over there, and they're in two different groups, 30 each yearlings, and with 2-year-olds. I don't like to mix them because they have a tendency to punish each other. If a younger one gets in with an older one, the older one will punish the younger one. So I try to keep them all relatively the same size. So this is basically what we're doing at the present time. I do have extra acreage, which I do take baleage off of for the winter. We do outwinter here, and I don't know if Clyde's got pictures of that, but there's actually pictures. I got bales ready for outwinter, ready for next year. And this piece down here will be my next outwintering is down here. And we'll use approximately half of this, what you see to the fence line, for the outwintering for next year.
But even though the paddock is that far away from the buildings, they'll have access to water up near the buildings?
Yes, we got a jug watering system up next to the buildings that waters it. Our watering system here is along the fence line for the summertime, and then the jug water is for the wintertime.
Then they can get in out of the wind and even under cover if they choose.
If they choose. If they can stay out they'll stay out at 30 below. As long as the wind isn't sharp, isn't about 15 miles an hour, they'll stay out. They'll actually lay down in the snowbank. These beef animals are, my father-in-law calls them non-working animals. Dairy cattle are working animals. These are non-working animals. So they stay pretty much fat all winter long because they're not actually producing anything other than a calf. The animals you see here are limousines. The black ones are crossbreeds out of my dairy. The red ones are probably 3/4 or 7/8 limousines. The original mothers came out of the dairies, either Guernseys or Holsteins. These were the cows that we didn't like, so we would breed them back to a beef breed. If we got a heifer, they went into the beef herd. And that's basically how we built our beef herd up. And now Now we're using young stock off of bulls, off purebred bulls, and so the new ones I brought in here are 7/8 limousines. And then the next batch will be the same thing. The bulls that once come off of this particular bull will be black. So hopefully no horns. Hopefully no horns.
It's amazing when we came down to move these guys that they're all bunched together fighting flies, bored to death. Once the gate came over, they forgot about the flies, and they've gotten right down to business, haven't they?
You notice what they're eating too. They eat nothing but the succulent tops off of all the hay. That's the first thing they touch. They'll pick up the best grass, the best hay, and by tomorrow this will be down to about 6 inches tall.
Now, you got the Einbach PNEUMATICSTAR, the spring of 2013. And if you could explain just some of the results you've seen using it, that would be great. Just both from the raking and the overseeding and the new seeding.
Well, the raking I've done, this particular field out over here and that field over there was the first two fields that we actually raked and got some results out of. These were my first outfeedings that I had done, and of course, what you end up with a round bale is you end up with about 20 to 30 pounds of hay left by the cows, and usually that ends up being a rot spot or a dead spot in that field. By using the Einbach, I was able to rake that stuff out, get it out of the way so grass can come up through, and that's where you cannot find a spot out there in which there was a bale because of it. It's just fantastic. Not only that, my grass is about 3 times thicker than it was before I started. It's just really great.
That was without adding any seed. That was just
without adding any seed. Just raking it and allowing the grass to stool out. Last year we did it we selected another section of fields that hadn't been wintered out the year prior to that, and that field is looking just like this one. I mean, this grass, these fields out here, these fields that I did outfeeding on here before had not been plowed. The one last year had not been plowed for at least 30, if not 40 years, and this one here has been at least 15 years since this one's been plowed. So it's just amazing how much comes back.
Yes.
I'm just totally amazed. I thought I was going to have to plow them up and replant them, but it seems like I'm getting better stuff by not doing it. I'm interested to find out what I do down here. Now this particular field down here, on the backside, you can see where the edge of it starts and stops. That is similar to this field over here. It's been about 15 years since that's been plowed up. We'll see what happens with that. It'll be interesting. That'll be our next outfield. So that will be a really interesting process.
It was very interesting to see how these windrows of uneaten forage in your outwintering paddock decomposed above ground. You raked up all the uneaten forage into windrows, roughly on 25-foot centers. We discussed you're possibly baling it off using your round bale.
But I had too much manure in it. I couldn't bale it. So we just put it in the piles and let it rot. Yeah. And it seems to be doing just that. Actually, the cows use it. The calves use it for bedding. Place to lay down. It's nice and warm during the cool nights. It gives them a place to lay down. They'll actually be 4 or 5 in a small area, probably about that big around, be 4 or 5 calves, all tucked together in one little group.
In your new seeding experience with alfalfa, clover, rye, and oats as a nurse crop?
That was probably the best seeding I've ever had. I had a cornfield I had plowed down, and this is when I first got the Einbach. My choice was to go back and do it the old-fashioned way, pull out my seeder, and do the oats and small grasses that way. And I decided, well, if the Einbach's here, let's try it. So I had the old seeder's it's only a 7-footer, and I figured it would take me 5 hours to do a 16-acre field with that. 5 and 6 hours. So the Einbach spreads 10 feet, so I could cover almost 3 times the amount of distance with the same machine, but I had to go over twice. So I think it took about 3.5 hours to do it with the Einbach. I did the oats first, did the large seed first, and I think I did oats, and I also put in the orchard grass in with the oats. Did that in the first seeding, and then the second seeding, I did all the small seeds. That would be the clovers, alfalfas, small grasses.
But your machine's 20 feet wide.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned 10 foot, but it's really 20 feet.
Yeah. So it covered three times the area, but I had to do it twice. They did a fantastic job. Normally I get anywhere from around 80 bushel the acre at oats. We were averaging about 120. We didn't plant until I think it was the 23rd of May, which is real late for oats. Around here we usually try to get them in by the 1st of May. I was really surprised we got a crop, and to get a crop like that. The oats were almost chest high. And then the alfalfa and the clovers came up. It was just as thick as a dog and a hair on a dog. It was just unbelievable. It just looked beautiful. No strips, no stripes in the field whatsoever. Beautiful job of planting.
The results we've had so far, comparing it with the Brilliant Cedar, are just exceptional. And everyone keeps asking why, and we don't always have the answer why it's so much better, other than maybe the metering system is, if you want 15 pounds to the acre, it will give you 15 pounds, not 16, not 14, when you dial it in correctly.
Yep.
So I don't think the Brilliant can approach that accuracy unless somebody wants to spend a lot of time.
I like the soil to seed contact with the Einbach is better than I had with the drill too. Actually, alfalfa is broadcasted out of a drill, drop seeded out of a drill, and hopefully it would cover. I did not color pack behind my Einbach. I have sandy ground, and the color packer had a tendency to bunch the sand, so I didn't even bother to color pack. And still was a better seeding than I'd had the previous year on a field right next to it.
I think you made the comment earlier that with a lot of good things you're seeing as far as improving volume of feed, that you could carry some more animals if you really wanted to, if you wanted to work harder at your age.
We're just trying to make this pay for itself. And right now, it's doing really good. The average price right now is giving me about $1,600 for a finished animal. So if it stays there, I will be able to maintain what I've got.
And you're direct marketing your meat, selling it to people who want all grass-fed beef.
I would say probably about 35% of my meat is direct fed. And then I've got a co-op in Madison that's one that wants to buy it, and there's also a gentleman over in Appleton that's selling grass-fed beef to Festival Foods. And he's interested in all grass-fed beef.
Well, you're at the right place with all grass-fed. I myself have made the conversion, and not that I can't eat grass-fed 100% of the time, or I can't, I should say, but I sure try. I know the health benefits, and I sure like to put my teeth in yours someday soon. I got to buy some from you, Art.
We can arrange that.
I know. I was waiting for your response. I know that.
We can arrange that. Actually, I'm looking for a quarter right now.
Well, any other thoughts, any other comments on what you've seen so far using the machine and grazing in general?
For a man I'm 69 years old, and all I can see is I would like to do this for probably another 10 years, at least until I get around 78, 79 years old, and where I physically can't do it anymore. But this is something I can physically do, and that's the important part. I do have grandchildren that are willing to help. I have four grandchildren between the ages of 16 and 13, and they do a lot of help in my fencing and physical labor that I have. Almost everything I do is round bales, 650-pound round bales, and then we do probably about 2,000 small squares. But that's everything else is we don't raise any corn, we do not raise any grains. This is to help simplify it for an old man. So, and hopefully we can make this thing work.
Well, I know you
It'll be
can.
profitable for anybody who wants to take it over.
I know you will. Now, this is all new fencing. This is state-of-the-art fencing that the NRCS helped you lay out with a certain plan?
Yes. This is part of the water conservation program, and this is basically to help stem the problems they're having with manure and fertilizer runoff.
Yes.
By having farmers put in grazing programs, that's going to be just that much less runoff into natural waters and streams, and that's primarily the purpose that the NRCS is paying for the fencing. But they did pay for the fencing of the 130 acres here. My commitment is 15 years to maintain the fence and to maintain the grazing.
Yes. And with hopefully one or both grandsons involved in farming on this farm in the future, why that fencing will last a lot more than 15 years.
Yeah, that's all the posts, all the end posts are cedar posts, all the inner posts are plastic resin posts. They should last forever.
Yes.
I'm amazed how cows respect this particular fence. They do not even eat below it. They'll eat up to it, but they will not eat below it.
We have that Gallagher bring you to your knees charger, don't you?
Well, it's not that. You can step on the fence, and it does not go through your shoes. You don't want to have wet shoes when you do it. Then it hurts. But as long as your shoes are dry, you can step on the fence. On this fence over here, you can step on it. They won't bother them. And the cows seem to respect it. So.
Well, I thank you very much, Art, and this will be going up on YouTube near the other video of what work you did here last spring with the Einbach. We'll show people some of the before and after. So.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Art.
You bet.